Here's a garden update for June 6, 2021. Right here you can see in the background where some squash are going to grow. Look at all this lettuce, out of control. Those are potato plants in the front. We're still on high speed. And there's some bean plants that should be coming up soon. Now we're over to the slow-mo mode, should be kicking in right about now. There it is. And we're at basically the bush of oregano. Thrown in there though, there is, and now here in the front, are 2 tomato plants on the left, parsley in the center, sage lower right, and above the sage is some cilantro, which is kind of buried there. But it's good that it's buried because the other cilantro that I have exposed is already like going to seed. Cilantro just isn't long lived. And you can see these parsley plants. They're from last year, but because we had this weird half spring, it wasn't really it got hot and then we got snow and then it got warm and then it froze. It kind of like, instead of them being biannuals, they kind of feel they got seasoned out. You can see that cilantro there. In the background, I've got another squash plant, and that's oversized on the left now, is a oversized marigold. There's the squash plant in the upper right. And of course, you can see the cilantro, some wild cilantro. It's not really wild cilantro, it's just cilantro that's seeded there. And here's my kale. And I have 3 different kinds of kale growing. And the one plant wants to go to seed. The one in the lower left and the right are newer ones. And I have great expectations for those. I had some of that in my salad today as well. It was a tasty salad, I must say. And that's a little pepper plant that I just kind of threw in the ground. I don't know if it's going to take or not. It was something I had in the greenhouse that it was like growing next to another pepper plant, a chili pepper plant. And I don't know. If it takes, it takes. If it doesn't take, well, so be it. And I'm zooming in here to show this particular kale plant. I didn't really have a healthy one of those before, so this is the first time I've had that like kind of curly kale. Most of my kale's like the stuff you see right here at the upper left, just the leaves. And in here are my carrots, and I've got them covered because there is a rabbit that comes in the yard. Excuse me. But they're starting to break through the soil, and that's par for the course this time of year, this early in the year. So I got no problem with that. And I'm sure I'll have, several dozen carrots when it's all said and done. That mint, not mint, but let's just forget about that. I'm just going to go. There's the other pepper that I was talking about, plant in the lower left of this thing here. This once was all radishes, but I've taken some of the radishes out. In fact, the radishes you see in the upper right of this little box I took out today. But there's a tomato plant right here that I put in that's looking pretty healthy. Unfortunately, all the tomato plants this year are determinants, so when they yield, and that's going to be it. I used to always have at least a couple vine tomatoes, and I had tomatoes straight into September, but unless I go to the nursery and grab something, I guess that's not going to be the case. And of course my shadows seem to be popping in and out, and at one point you'll see the old classic thumb over the lens. I think when I was showing the apple tree, but we'll get to that when we come to it. That's the hose draped over that, and those are potato plants in the background. They're coming in okay there. I've got other potato plants in another bed that we saw earlier that are already flowering. But we're going to take a little closer look here. I don't know if these little radishes, if it's too late in the season. When I was out there today, it was like 85, pushing 90 degrees. Now, it's supposed to cool down towards the weekend, but, you know, radishes are kind of a cooler weather early crop. And I can't complain. I gave a bunch of radishes away. I've eaten a lot of radishes, and I've got radishes still in the refrigerator, and they'll keep, you know, they'll keep for a while. So I did okay with radishes. Maybe I'll do, you know, plant late in the season. I'll plant another crop. They only take like 20 some days to grow, something weird like that. And I was just closing in here to show. These are the ones I pulled out actually, and I either ate or added to my refrigerator stash of radishes. And I'm doing this after the fact, so I guess I decided to close in on the potato plants too. Somewhere mixed in here, I have all this wild mint growing. And I think these plants aren't growing as crazy because I had to pull out about a half dozen mint plants that were in there. So I kind of got this fear that there's a network of mint roots under there. In fact, if you look closely towards the lower left, you can see a mint leaf. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I hope that's not going to stunt the growth or of these potatoes, because that would be a nice crop there. And here's my zucchini and summer squash underneath the mesh. I didn't have any luck with zucchini or squash last year at all. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know what happened. But so far so good. Here you could see some mint plants trying to close in on that too. It's just I got wild mint all along the fence line. And it's just such a network of roots that even though I've dug out all of these things and tried to go down deep, these things just keep finding their way. Excuse me. Like I said, I just ate a salad from the garden, 100% from the garden, but I got a tickle in my throat, so I don't know what from that. I just threw an extra squash over there towards the fence there. I'm going to have to clear my throat. Pardon me. I'm not going to stop. I'm doing this like just live straight through narration. And here's a bunch of mint, as you can see. I mean, it's great mint, and if you like to make mint juleps or put mint in your, you know, your tea or whatever, your lemonade, anything. I mean, I've got a ton of it. Look at it all. It's like crazy. Comes back every year on its own. And it's invasive, and there's the thumb I was talking about. Good old, never fails. The cat decided to come down. He's wondering what I'm doing, talking to myself. Yeah, great. This is always fun. I just leaving this stuff in. I could have cut it out. I figured it out at this. I wasn't paying attention. Then I figured it out. Anyway, this is my apple tree. And again, I say this every time, but this is nice and healthy. And it's about 10 feet tall now. At least 9 or 10 feet tall. And it's getting pretty thick. And I grew this from an apple, a seed from an apple I ate. A gala apple I ate. Of course, there's no guarantee I'll get a gala tree, but, and I have a smaller one that from a seed I ate that's, you know, about 8 feet away. You can see towards in the background, though that was planted a year apart. So I know that these tree, you know, usually these you need kind of two to cross pollinate or whatever. But I'm hoping, I'm not sure, and I don't know why this is blurry all of a sudden. Probably because the thumb was in the picture earlier on. And you can see this is the back of my Dutch colonial house, which is in much need of a painting. But you see all the vines overtaking that? Those are all the grapevines. And quite frankly, I'm just letting it happen. But yeah, somehow we got out of focus on here. But you get the point across. It's a pretty darn healthy looking apple tree. So I get, like I said about the other thing, great expectations. I don't know. We may see some apple blossoms this year, but definitely by next year. I mean, assuming this tree stays healthy, I can't see why not. I put in like those fruit tree spike things, feeder things in last fall as instructed, and I've got some mulch on here, and I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. And then we're going to head back. I'm trying to get a close-up here on, these are the grapevines that not only have overtaken my house, but I have them, I kind of trained them to come along the fence. It's more of a privacy thing. When I first came here, all there was a metal fence. Then I added that white lattice thing, and now I've added all of this growth, so it just covers it in. But look at the grapes. This year, the grapes are coming out. And there they are. And again, for some reason, my camera's just not focusing on anything. Usually it focuses on something. Well, anyway, those are grapes. Green grapes. I mean, assuming the birds don't eat it, and I've got so many of the darn things that I can't imagine them being able to consume every single one of them. I mean, I must have 1,000 of those grape groupings. And I think each one of those tiny little groupings is like, will ultimately be like a, like whatever you call the thing of grapes, It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I didn't have the grapes like that last year. So this is the year. It may be the same as the apple tree. It's either going to be this year, but definitely next year for both. I put some mesh bird netting on some parts of the grapes area just to make sure. This is how you kind of get a nice little look into the entrance way to the garden portion of my yard. That's my little pond with its little fountain. It's kind of algaed out, but the birds use it as a bird drink and a bird bath, and that's one of those little self-solar fountain things. And I've got an aerator in there. You can see on the side, if you see to the right of the bird feeder. And of course my shadow happened to be here. This is spearmint along that fence, which I trimmed down a little bit. And we're heading down here, and those are pepper plants on the left. This is wild growth, is everything from chives to oregano to peas, string beans, just all growing wild there in the back by the fence. Some more lettuce, and then these are my tomato plants, and as you can see, they're determinate. And if I were to get closer, which I don't believe I did, I actually have some little tomatoes actually growing already on these things. I don't expect these things to get more than 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. And I probably will well, two probablys there, have tomatoes within 30 days, I'm assuming. But that lettuce is great, and it tastes good. And you don't need... I have so much lettuce. I just gave like a giant bag away to a friend the other day. I've been eating it, salads, and, But I mean, the leaves are so big that, if you put in like a kale leaf or two and some of that reddish lettuce and the green leaves. I mean, I put it in sandwiches. It's like, how much can one guy eat? It's just me. There's the close-up of the, I guess, the peas. Pea pods. I just put like beans and peas in that whole corner. And they're all growing up. So there's flowers there you can't really see. So they're flowering, which means, a couple weeks there should be. There you could see the more overgrown oregano. And here's a shot of my little mini greenhouse. You can see that fan is controlled by a solar panel. And we're speeding up here. Peppers. And they're kind of like dwarfed. My lounge chair. I've got a few things still growing inside there. There's my NOAA radio being solar charged by the sun. That's my little workshop area in the garage. That's detached from my house. Thanks for watching. See you soon.